Hey everybody, today we're going to work on creating a book mockup, and we're going to use the 3D capabilities of Illustrator mixed with a symbol, and yeah, that should be it. And we're going to make sure this is editable so you can save it. I'll probably have the file up on the Pixel Moshpit website, so you might want to swing by there after the tutorial's done if you want to pick up the template and kind of check out what we do in the tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. So I just want to show you, to start off, I have created a symbol. I'm going to double click it to go into edit mode. This is my mock cover. It's got a couple things in it. You've got text that's editable, logo, there's a transparent image here, and just a rectangle vector shape with red applied to it. So I'm going to double click out of it, and we're back to the main canvas. So yeah, so now let's move into the 3D section. So basically what we have to do here is create a top-down view of a book. So a book is comprised of a front, a back cover, and a spine. So I'm going to turn this a medium gray here. So from the top-down view, this will be our cover or back. What I'm going to do is hold down Alt, then click and drag out, and I can use my smart guides, as you can see the little purple line, or hold Shift while I'm holding Alt and it'll lock it in place. So I want my book to be about that thick. Okay. And then I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and create what's going to represent the paper. So I'm going to click and drag out, meet the other side, go to cover, and drag to the bottom. And keep in mind, this section up here is the gap between the paper and the end of the book. So I don't know if I want it that far. I'm going to push it up just a little bit. And that's good. And now we need to make the spine where all the papers get binded. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool again, drag out. Now what I'm going to do is use my direct select tool. I'm going to hit A for that. Select these two anchor points down here, and then I'll have access to the rounded corner handles. And I'm going to go ahead and bend that to my heart's content. I think that's pretty good there. So basically, yeah, what we have is the top-down view of a book. Now what I'm going to do is head over to Pathfinder, and I'll hit Unite. And now all those shapes are one shape now. And basically what I'm going to do from here is head over to Effect, go down to 3D, and apply Extrude and Bevel. Okay, so you're not seeing anything happening because we don't have preview on. I just want to explain first that this blue section right here is what you find on the canvas. The view that you see on the canvas is where this blue plane is here. We don't see any extra planes because we don't have preview on, so I just wanted to explain what that blue was. Let's go ahead and turn on the preview. So now you can see we're actually getting some depth here. So the extrude depth is 50 points. I'm going to go ahead and turn this blue section facing all the way up because that's my the top plane of the book, and you can see the wireframes updating as I rotate. You see the movement of the wireframe. So I'm going to try to pretend like it's standing up on the ground, like most mock-ups you see online. And then I'm basically going to rotate this. I want to kind of show off. I don't have any spine artwork, but if you wanted to, this is kind of how you do it. This would be the spine over here, and then on the other side, you can see that's where the paper would be. So if you want kind of your paper over there, turn it that way. But I want the spine, so let's go ahead. I'm going to do like an angle like that. That's good. And now we can pick the height of our book. So I'm going to hop up to, like, let's see here, 5, 6. Let's go to like 575. 575. Yours is probably going to be different. It just depends on the size of the shape that you have on the canvas. That's cool. Now, the only thing that I don't like is you can see this isn't in perspective. These two angles on this plane don't come to a point. A vanishing point kind of pinches like a cone. We need to add perspective to do that. So let's go ahead and drag out some perspective. And now it looks like it's going, these angles are going off into the distance. If you were staring at, a road, how that kind of pinches off in the distance if you did that in the elementary art class. Okay, so this is dipping off into perspective. I like that there. That's good. So I'm going to hit OK. We're going to revisit some of this stuff. Actually, let's just go over the map art. I'm going to hit map art, and generally, if you wanted to map something onto like a sphere or a cube or something like that, You would do it here, but we have a top-down view, so there's nothing we can map here. As you can see, it reverted back to, we don't see the 3D planes. So there's nothing we can do. So I'm just going to skip this step. We don't need that for this tutorial. I'm going to, let's hit preview again. Sometimes it gets a little buggy. We can hit more options. We can change the direction of our lighting if we wanted to. So let's say we wanted to highlight just the spine. We can, aim the light at that. So I want the front of the book here. And I'm actually going to take the ambient light and just bump it up. I don't want it super dark, so that looks good. I'm going to hit OK. So let's hit OK. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to head over to graphic styles. You see how I saved one here earlier. I'm going to go ahead with this object selected, hit new graphic style, and it'll actually save the angle and orientation that I've set this. So that's good, just in case I need to make any more. Because again, the spine that you do on this one, you could do a completely different one if you wanted to, and now you have this angle saved and ready to go. Okay, so now what you're asking yourself is, okay, cool, we've got the book, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to size it up on my canvas. So if I was to try to send this to a client, I want the book pretty much right there, right in the middle. So what I'm basically doing is setting up a scene like a light box. If you had a photographer do product shots for you, they would put it in a white light box more than likely. And that background, basically, we'll go over that in the next few steps, but the background's just basically like a sheet or like poster board material that bends in an L shape heading towards the viewer, which we will create. But for now, let's get back to adding the cover. So you're asking yourself, okay, let me head over to symbols. I'm going to grab the symbol. I'm just going to drag it out. So cool, we've got the symbol. Now let's like get it into place. I'm going to turn the opacity down, and I'm going to drag this corner so the corners meet. And cool. All right. So what I'm going to do is use the shortcut Control U to turn off Smart Guides. I'm then going to hit the shortcut E to use my the free transform tool. So I'm going to click this corner, hold Control, and drag. You'll see I'm going to try to get the perspective lines to match. You can see I'm going to match this corner to this corner, and then release. But nothing happened. Well, because you can't do that to symbols or images in Illustrator, but we have a workaround. So I'm going to hit undo. I'm also going to hit undo one more time. So how do we get around doing that? Oops, not treating. So I'm going to scale this down, and what you're going to basically do is create another rectangle shape. I'm going to turn my Smart Guides back on. Hit Control U. Now you can see I've got my Smart Guide. So it's showing me the intersection for that anchor point in the corner. I'm going to click and drag and go all the way down to the bottom one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn off the fill. I just want the shape. So you can see over here in the layers panel, let's go ahead and size the panel up so you guys can see. So I have the symbol, book sub layer, and this path right here, the rectangle path. I'm going to select them both. And then I'm going to head to Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object. Okay, that'll take a second because there's a lot of stuff going on there. Computer's probably going to freak out here for a second. Cool. This is now ready to go. So let's drag this in place. I'm going to turn off my Smart Guides again. I'm going to take this and drop down the opacity. Now I can kind of see where my corners are. I'm going to drag this corner in. I'll zoom into it. That's close enough. And now I can use my free transform tool, click the corner, hold Control, and then drag this to get as close as I can. And because it's in an envelope, it's going to work now. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Click the corner, then hold Control, and drag to meet that nice little angled edge there. And then I'll do the last one here. So it's going to be a little off by the time I finish doing this. The corners kind of fight each other as the orientation of the bounding box stays the same the whole time. It doesn't match what we have going on here, which is a little annoying, but that's fine. We'll use the direct select tool. So you'll notice I'm avoiding the curve because I don't need to be on it. The cover here isn't bending around. So that's in place. Okay, so now we just got to do some fine tuning. You can see the corner's a little off, so I'm going to head with my direct select tool, click on this anchor point, then drag it in here. And you'll see it's not flush up against the edge, so we can use the handle from this anchor point. So let me zoom in here. We can probably get real close if we want. Wait a second for the update. Now keep in mind, this is a mock-up. It's not going to kill you if it's not perfect. So don't be a perfectionist like me. And I'm just going to drag this out a little bit until we cover that gray. And that's close enough. I'm going to hop out here. This is good. Now also keep in mind with that envelope distort, you have to make with the top object first to apply the envelope, the shape. You're using a shape as the envelope to then distort. You can do it with images, so if you're wondering how you did that, that is it. Okay, cool. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and select that object again now. Get off the anchor point and turn the opacity back up. And there we go. We've got it aligned where we need it. And now you're wondering, okay, how do I get this to look like it's on the book? So let's say your spine was gray, then you're good to go. You don't have to do anything, but not in this scenario. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the 3D shape. It's still live. I'm going to head to the appearance panel, and you can see that I have that 3D effect still applied. So I can go into this and change it if I want. Obviously, I would have to distort this again, but I don't need. So I don't need to change any of that stuff. I just need to change the fill. I know it's this red that I've set, so I can pop it in there. So now you can see for my book cover, I wanted it to end right there, but if I wanted it to bend around, I'd probably do the envelope distort and apply the spine image there. But with this one, I'd keep it clean, maybe slap some text on the back. So that's good to go. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do with the lighting. Let me actually delete this layer here. One thing that you can do, let's say the lightings, you want to add like a gradient on the side. All I would do is basically grab this layer, drag and drop to duplicate. Then what I would do is, with it selected, I'd target it in the layers panel. I'd go to Object, Envelope, Distort, Release. So now I can get that shape back. I don't need the image, so I'm going to click it, hit delete, grab this, what is now a mesh. It looks like a vector object, which it technically is, but it's mesh now. It's not going to let me do anything with it, so I have to get it to release. Object, Envelope, Distort, there's no release. How do we do it? Best way to do it is go to Path, offset the path, and just hit 0. Hit 0, hit OK, and then what it'll do, it'll create a new offset path. We can get rid of the mesh. Now we have just the path. With that path, it's got a black stroke applied to it. I don't need that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the stroke, head back to the fill, apply gradient. This time I'm going to do radial. I'm going to go to gradient, the gradient tool, and I'm going to stretch this so we're going to pretend the light's hitting like right there. But I'm going to have it set as an overlay, and I need to turn off the black because I don't want the black to affect anything. So the way we get away with that is with the black selected, knock this to 50%, and 50% shouldn't affect anything when you apply an overlay. So let's go to the layer mode now and hit overlay. So now you can see, and again, you can do whatever you want. I can hit screen if I wanted to, and then knock it down like that if you want it. I'm not a huge fan of how that looks. You can try soft light too. Knock that up. That's just very, very faint. So let's head back to overlay, and then I can use my grading tool and just kind of keep playing around until I get the lighting exactly where I want it. Stretch it out, do all sorts of stuff. So okay, cool. So this layer has our book. I'm going to go ahead and lock that for now. And let's go ahead and create our background. So I'm going to create a new layer, drag this down, and let's create a rectangle. I'm going to turn on, my smart guides are not on, Control U to turn them on. Click the corner, drag to the opposing corner. I already have the gradient on, which is fine. I need to change this to linear. This has some opacity applied to it. Let's hit, oh, did I do opacity in there? I meant to turn that to 50%. 50%. No, I did do the 50% gray. Never mind. Let's go hit 100. And then what I'm going to do is drag this in the middle. I'm going to come up to my swatches, grab some white, drop it here, move it all the way to the back. Grab this black, I'm going to double click it, and I want a very faint gray. So let's go like 8%. You can probably barely even see it, but let's go ahead and change the orientation. So I'm going to hit G to get to my gradient tool. I'm going to drag from the top to the bottom. And then what I can do is, with that tool, I'm going to bring this and grab it a little closer. You can see I'm scrunching that gray together now. And this is kind of how a light box works. The light's hitting the plane in the back that's facing the viewer. It bends in an L shape and then comes at you, which this generally gets some light too. So maybe the gray's just a little too faint. Let's head up to, see what 10% looks like. Yeah, that's fine. Actually, you know, let's go 12. Okay. Enter. Now that's in. So I'm going to come back in. Let's try this one out. Pinch this one in a little bit more. That looks good. And then over here, I'm just going to drag the bar. About here. So the gray is essentially the horizon line. That's kind of what we're making here. Okay, cool. So not super convincing just yet. So what we really need to do now is apply a drop shadow. So what I'm going to do is lock this background layer. I'm going to hit a new layer, and it'll be in between. And then basically what I'm going to do is just create a black shape. And I'm going to start from this corner, move over to this one here. Let's see here. Actually, no, yeah, we'll start from this one here. And then what I'm going to do is kind of come back here, and I want, if you've ever done two-point perspective, this moves to a vanishing point on the horizon line, which is that gray line in the background. And then over here we do the same thing. So I'm going to follow that line, and hit over here, and then come across. And we're basically creating the book. So this spine is this line being cast down. So I need to make the top of the book back here. So I'm going to move this over here, and then come back to the corner, and that's fine. So I actually didn't go to black. What do I have here? I got overlay set, so I want this to normal. Okay, so now I have the normal shape. So, okay, if you want a very stark black shadow that is the darkest shadow probably possible, great, you're done. But I don't want that. I'm going to go ahead and grab this object, hit Effect, go to Blur. Let's do a Gaussian blur. Let's see, 9.7 pixels. This is probably working from what I last used. That's okay. I'm going to maybe a little bit more. Okay, let's hit OK. So let's see what we got. So now you can see I've got a faint drop shadow there, and that's cool. But let's go ahead and make this really, really nice. Okay, I used black so that you can see the shadow. Now let's go ahead and apply a gradient again, and it should default to the background gradient that we used. So we need to get rid of that. And then what we're going to do is click this here. Actually, let's click this. Make sure it's in a 50%. So it's right in the middle. And then we need black. So let's drag two blacks on top of these crayon-looking icons. Really, it's just a square swatch with an arrow pointing to a location. So I'm going to grab one of them and then head over to opacity, hit 0. So now we've got the gradient fading in the wrong direction. So let's go ahead and reverse it. And that's actually looking a lot better. I'm going to hit G for my gradient tool, and I'm going to make sure I get my angle right. So what I'm going to do is use the planes of the gradient tool to match the plane angle on the top of the book. And that's good. So I'm going to hit reverse again. And that looks good. That's looking super duper good. I might have to move my book a little bit, but for the most part that's good. Now that's pretty much done. So I'm going to click that object, drop the opacity till it looks right to me. I want something subtle. So drop down to about 43%. That looks good. Okay, so this looks a little bit off, so I'm going to unlock the book layer. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to drag it over just a little bit. I'm holding Shift to lock it in place. Okay, and that's good. So yeah, that's creating a book mockup, and the great part is we can head over to symbols at any point, and let's say the client's not happy with something, they need to move the logo or something. Grab the logo. They want it at the bottom. Drop it in the bottom. Awesome. Maybe they, I don't know, maybe need to scoot this up a little bit. We're probably not going to be able to tell all that much. But let's scoot it up a little bit. Double click out. And the beauty is, after a couple seconds, logo's at the bottom. That got scooted up. Everything's updated. You're ready to go. Now you have an editable book template that you can use at any time. And we did it using 3D and Illustrator. So I hope you guys took something from the video. I definitely know you can use the tip to distort images using that envelope distort tip that we went through to get the book cover onto the cover of this actual 3D shape. Now I will have this, like I said at the beginning of the video, on the Pixel Moshpit website at pixelmoshpit.com. There should be a blog post with the written out tutorial. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something from it. And remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really goes a long way. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.